Hello beautiful people, welcome to my channel. My name is Mutombo. I am a Cameroonian content creator. I'm an artist. I used to be an engineer. I have more than 5 years experience working in the field of engineering, specifically telecommunications. I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Douala in electrical and electronics engineering, and I have a master's of engineering degree in telecommunications from the University of Cape Town. Okay, so I'm saying all of this, giving my full resume here because this video is a Q&A, and you guys sent in questions about me, about my life, and I just wanted to give that brief introduction so that if anybody is watching who maybe is stumbling upon this channel and this gorgeous face for the very first time, they would, kind of understand where these questions are coming from and where my answers are coming from as well. So that's it. If you are new to the channel, this channel is just fun vibes. We do a bit of productivity here, we share life experiences here, and we do that in the most authentic manner possible, as authentic as you can be online. I hope you subscribe. I mean, even though you don't know me, you might enjoy this Q&A video, so just stick around, check out other videos after this, and yeah, I'm happy to have you here. So I have my laptop here. I gathered all the questions that you sent in and I categorized them into 3 main categories. The first category is general questions. General questions about me, life, I'm sure you get it. Then the next category is career and future. And those are questions that you asked about, basically, what are you doing with your life? So I'll answer those in the second category. And in the third category, we have questions about marriage, relationships, and all of that. So I'll answer those questions that concern matters of the heart in that last category. And speaking of the last category, one thing I forgot to mention in my elaborate introduction is that I recently got married. I got married at the end of 2023, and yeah. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Nature's Secret says, you once mentioned that you don't have a driver's license. Wow, this shows that you are a long-time viewer because I said this a very long time ago, so thank you for sticking around. I really appreciate it. Are you planning on getting it, or do you prefer being a passenger princess? I am team passenger princess, by the way. Yeah, no, for sure I have to get my driver's license this year. 2024 is the year that I get my driver's license. In fact, I am saying it here so that you guys can hold me accountable, especially since moving in with my husband. I've realized that I really need a driver's license. I love being a passenger princess. Honestly, I think I've really milked it for as long as I can, but it's time for me to grow up. It's time for me to actually get a driver's license because I don't have a car yet, but thank God my husband has a car. So there are times when we are both home and I need to rush out and do something. The car is there, but I'm forced to either ask him to go drop me, which honestly most times he's willing to do, but maybe his program did not involve going wherever it is that I was going. And if I knew how to drive and had my driver's license, I could easily just hop into his car and go wherever I need to go, do what I need to do and come back, and he doesn't have to bother. He can rest, he can stay home, do what he needs to do and all of that. So even in my vlogs, you would realize that I use Yango a lot, which is actually very expensive. So I somehow need to find a way to get myself from point A to point B independently. So yeah, that's one of my 2024 goals. Get your driver's license, learn to drive. You're a big girl now. Mina asks, what keeps you going? What's your motivation to push through life in general? Girl, this is a question that if you've managed to answer, you found like one of life's biggest secrets. I'm not always motivated, honestly. Unfortunately for me, I'm one of those people who are affected by external validation. Whether it's me getting positive feedback or negative feedback, they both really affect me. In fact, I'll give you a prime example. I was supposed to film this video last week, but last week I got a really nasty comment on one of my videos. Unfortunately, I read that particular comment on the same day that I had planned to film. Like, I read it in the morning. I was planning to film during the day. That comment just destroyed my mood. I couldn't film the video anymore. So What I'll say to this question, and it's actually something that I do, is that I try to identify the things that instead dampen my mood, drain my motivation, drain my energy, and I avoid those things. I avoid them, or I push them to the end of the day. Even though I'm a content creator, I realize that social media really drains my energy, especially Instagram. I don't have Instagram on my phone. I only access Instagram either through my laptop or through my iPad. So it automatically just limits the amount of time that I spend on that app. That's one way that I found to curb my my Instagram consumption. It's not the best move for my career and my business as a content creator, but until I find a way to be on that platform in a healthy manner, this is the only way that I know how to protect like my mental health, my peace, my my space. Another thing that helps me push through life is, this sounds cliche, but honestly, sometimes all you have in this life is your faith in God. I'm a Christian woman, so obviously I'm referring to having faith in God Almighty. Recently, I've had to depend a lot on my faith to keep going, keep things moving, because as most of you may know, I quit my 9-to-5 job last year and I decided to pursue content creation and my artwork full-time. This path that I decided to take is one that I couldn't really see any clear roadmap for. I didn't know where exactly I was heading with this, but I just knew that I had to do it, and the only thing that helped me to confidently make that step was faith. Just having that faith that if I feel a conviction this strong to take this step, it must be God telling me to take this step, because that's the only master I serve. That's the only person that has the power or the authority to instruct me and put such a heavy conviction on my heart. So I made that decision in faith, and since then, with no idea how these careers even work or the roadmap for these careers in the country that I live in, all I had was faith. So that's what has kept me going so far, honestly. Another thing is, I gravitate a lot towards people who are positive, just people with a positive outlook on life, and this includes even news pages. I don't need to hear every day about how the economy is bad and inflation, things are so expensive, jobs are scarce, this is that, everything is going to shit. I don't need to hear that every day, because I live it. Any day that I go out, I go to town, I leave my house, I go to the grocery store, I go to the market, wherever it is, as long as you just leave whatever sanctuary you call home, you are reminded. The world will not fail to remind you that things are going to shit. So I don't need the constant reminder that there's a recession, there's this, there's that. So I avoid that kind of content. Whether it's on WhatsApp statuses, YouTube channels that I used to watch, Instagram pages that, are constantly posting about bad news. Honestly, I really try to protect my mental health and just keep my peace as much as I can. Hi, editing me here. One thing that I forgot to mention under this point of motivation and just, how to keep it pushing and stay on top of your goals is, I try to keep my goals in sight, because I found that recently I've gotten so scatterbrained that sometimes I set goals and I even forget the goals that I set for myself. So sometimes I slack off on working on my goals, not because I don't want to work on them, but because I've actually forgotten that those are the goals that I set for myself. So something that really used to work for me, and I don't know why I stopped doing this, but now that you have spoken about motivation and all of this, it has come back to mind, is that I put my goals on, I don't know whether you're going to call it a vision board or even just a simple list that you put and then you pin somewhere that every day when you wake up you can see. At some point I used to put my fitness goals as my screensaver. Like, I'll just look for somebody who is body goals for me and I'll put that person as my screensaver, so that every time that I touch my phone I am reminded that this is what I'm working towards. This is what I want for myself. Yeah, so that's one piece of advice that I'm going to give you. I'm also going to take and apply it to my own life, especially for the month of July. I'm going to set my goals, write them out somewhere, and maybe take a picture of them and put as my screensaver, put somewhere where I know that I'm going to see every day, so that I'm constantly reminded of the things that I'm working towards and where I'm trying to go. Another thing too is to try to visualize, yourself in the future. Basically, if you're visualizing the person that you're trying to create, you imagine where you are going, the person that you want to be, the improvements that you want to make in yourself, and you imagine yourself already with those improvements. And if you can actually close your eyes and picture that person, then I think you'll be more motivated to keep working, keep trying, keep at it. When you fail, you try again and all of that. You know what? I need to listen to this clip over again by myself, because this is some real pep talk. This is actually something that I needed to hear for myself. Don't write your goals in a notebook that you don't open every day, and then the notebook is tucked away somewhere. I mean, you can do that, but make sure that you also duplicate it in a place that you are always looking at and that will allow you to be reminded daily. I personally have lots of testimonies in my life that this actually works. I remember there was one semester in school, I literally wrote out the exact grade that I wanted for each course and the exact mark, and that was like my best semester in my entire undergrad. There was also another time when this one wasn't related to school, but there was a time when I literally wrote out all the things that I wanted for myself one year, and I put it anyway. This one I didn't really put it on display somewhere. I put it in my prayer book, where every morning that I go to pray, I pray on those items as a prayer intention, and believe you me, all those things just, fell in line. Not immediately, not all in the same year, but now that I sit and I look back at all those things that I was praying for daily that year, I realized that they all either came to fruition or things happened that facilitated that specific goal. So I'm not saying that everything that you want for yourself is something that God will automatically give you, because not everything that we want for ourselves that is good. God has, of course, God is the master planner and we have to trust in his plans. But for the fact that I used to pray on those things daily, I already had in my subconscious that this is something that I am actively asking God for on a daily basis, and I also need to do my part to work for those things. I was constantly motivated to work, like, okay, you know what, I'll do my part and leave the rest to God. And God did. Thinking back to that time and thinking back to these experiences, I'm even realizing now that I really lost sight of the woman I used to be. And I'm happy that in asking this question, you've really made me think back to those times and, to times when I was a highly motivated person and, just reflect on what I was doing differently then. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add. Ciao, I'm going back to editing. I don't know if I've actually answered your question, but that's what I have to say on the topic. Let's move on. New Dawn says, how did you get to school in South Africa for your master's? What was the whole process? So I'm going to answer this very briefly. Thank you for your question. The first thing is to apply for the program that you want to study. I applied, I was accepted into the program. I got a confirmation email from the school detailing the next steps to take. The next thing I needed to do was apply for the South African study visa, because Cameroonians need a visa to enter South Africa. That, I think, was the hardest part of the entire process. I needed to apply to SACA for verification of my documents from Cameroon. And when you apply for verification of your documents, you also have to follow up with the schools and the government bodies that issued your certificates here in Cameroon, because sometimes those emails go unread. So there's a lot of follow-up involved. That whole process took me about 3 months, because I didn't know that I had to go chasing after people to answer their own emails. The safest thing to do would be to actually contact the South African High Commission in Cameroon and ask them what exactly you need for your visa application. They will give you a list of things that you should bring. This SACA document is on the list, which is why I had to go through that entire process. And once you are ready, you go drop your documents at the High Commission or the embassy, depending on what you have in your country. That basically is the visa application. If they grant you the visa, congratulations. If they don't grant you the visa, try again. Other things that you obviously need to organize for yourself include accommodation, figure out how you're going to be eating. That was basically the process, even though I've left out so many details, but that's what I can explain to you here. I think it would be better for you to do further research by yourself, because I went to South Africa in 2019. who knows, maybe some of the processes have changed since then. So do your research and all the best. Dr. Diana says, I don't have a question, I just love you, from Namibia. That is so sweet. Thank you so much. Oh wow, okay, that's it for the general questions. Let's move on to the career questions. You guys really drilled me on my career and future as if you were my parents. Some of these questions actually had me thinking long and hard about my life. Like, I literally just crawled up into the fetus position and I was rocking myself back and forth and reflecting on my life, like, oh gosh, what exactly are you doing with your life? So yeah, anyway, let's get into the questions regarding my career and my future. Cozy asks, are you still working as an electrical engineer? You stopped mentioning it. Yes, no. No, I'm no longer working as an electrical engineer. I quit my engineering job a little over a year ago, and as I mentioned before, I quit my job to follow my passion. Quinta actually has a series of questions, so thank you, girl. Hey dearest Mutombo, congratulations again, and I appreciate your content. 1, why did you quit your job? Are you doing what you really want to do as a career now, or is this just a career break? How did you figure out what you wanted to do in life, or did you already have all of these planned out some years back? Let me start with the last part. No, I had none of this planned out. Like, the decision to quit my job was definitely not something that I had planned to do a few years back. In fact, if you had told me 3 years ago that this girl, you are going to quit your job to, be a content creator, I would have told you you're crazy. In my very first Q&A that I did on this channel, I specifically said that I would never leave my job or quit my job to pursue YouTube or anything of the sort. I said that. Here we are. As for whether or not this is a career break, honestly, that was not my intention when I quit my job last year, but it ended up being the case, because I would say the past year has been more of a sabbatical than a career change like I originally intended. And that is because once I quit my job, I unfortunately quit in the same year that I was going through so many personal changes that I kind of got sidetracked taking care of my personal changes, planning a wedding, which honestly is a full-time job on its own, getting married, moving in with my husband, figuring out so many things, and at the same time still, producing content, working on my art. But if I'm being honest, because of all these other things that were pulling my attention, I cannot really say that I applied myself to my business and my work the way I intended to when I was quitting my job. That's the most honest answer that I can give to this question. As for why exactly I quit my job, I have a whole video detailing all the reasons that I quit, like my thought process. But basically the biggest reason is that the nature of the specific job that I was doing did not really align with my strengths. That is really the biggest reason. I wanted to do something that aligned with my strengths. I'm somebody who is very task oriented. Like, I work well when it comes to tasks. Like, if I'm given a specific task to accomplish, it doesn't matter what field it's in, whether it's content creation, engineering, whatever. If I am given specific tasks to do and I have like a list of objectives to tick off, I excel doing that type of thing. But in the job that I was doing, I had to be on the phone a lot. I was constantly on the phone talking, coordinating with people all over the place, and just that constant, like, in a day I would spend like 5 hours on the phone just talking. Like, my mouth was just moving for 5 hours. I did not enjoy that. I prefer to work with data. I prefer working on specific tasks. Like, if I have what I need to do maybe on a laptop and I'm just able to do my calculations, produce my reports, generate whatever I need to generate without having to interact too much with people, I'm in heaven. So that's it. Well, that's the introvert in me. So Quinta's second question is, how does expectation from family and those around you make you feel about quitting your job sometimes? Makes me feel like shit. First of all, forgetting even about other people. I didn't meet my own personal expectations when it comes to what exactly it is that I wanted to do once I quit my job. But at the end of the day, I had all these other things going on, and I am but one human being. That's one thing that 2023 taught me for sure. I'm one human being. Because mind you, after quitting my job, I was still taking care of myself. I was still paying my bills. I still had rent to pay. Everything that I needed my 8 to 5 salary to take care of was still there looking at me, and you know, I was still taking care of all those things. So it's not like I was just sleeping and planning a wedding. I was still working. It's just I wasn't applying as much of myself to my work as I wanted to. You asked about family expectations. In terms of family expectations, I'll just generalize, you know, the people around me. In the beginning, they were very supportive. They understood why I was making this choice and so on and so forth. But going out on your own is kind of a slower path to success. It's just generally a slower grind. It's not like you have your set salary that you expect at the end of the month, like you may do it at your 9 to 5. So because it's a slower path to success, I feel like, I wouldn't say for sure, but I feel like the people around me are beginning to lose patience. Everybody's wondering, will this girl just be... I honestly don't know. Like, will this girl just be managing like this for the next 10 years or for the rest of her life, or what? Like, everybody's just like, especially those who actually sacrifice to help me to get the degrees. So I feel it, and it makes me feel very bad. Yeah, this is where we are. All I can do is try my best, honestly. At this point, this decision came out of conviction. All I can do is get back on the path that I intended to take, you know, apply myself the way I wanted to apply myself, and just, if it fails, then it has failed. But at least at the end of the day, I would know that I tried. I'll gather my lessons and apply to the next step. If it succeeds, then we thank God. All glory to God the Almighty. Question number 3, what are you planning to do with all the knowledge and experience that you have in engineering? I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but one thing is for sure: no knowledge gained is a waste. The problem with how we look at knowledge generally is that we compartmentalize it, and it's actually a problem that I've noticed with our education system, especially those of us who, you know, grew up in this part of the world where everybody is categorized into, you know, a section. You're either an art student or you're a science student. I happen to be gifted in both. Like in school, I was literally receiving prizes for best in literature and best in physics, which are like two opposite subjects. So because I personally love both, I've, you know, tried to learn to not box myself into certain boxes. The fact that I learned certain things in engineering school does not mean that it can only apply to engineering. For example, my engineering training has taught me to be a critical thinker, an analytical thinker. Like, honestly, sometimes just giving me the smallest piece of information really stresses me out, because I'm constantly thinking of different scenarios based on just a small piece of information that you think you may have given me. Something that you may have told me innocently, you don't know that it's torturing me. And that's one thing that my husband learned about me only after getting married. Like, anyway, that's an aside. But my point here is that being an analytical thinker, you know, just that training to pay a lot of attention to detail is something that I can apply to anything. It applies to the way I consume content. It applies to the way I listen to things that people tell me. And it applies to whether or not I'll believe the things that people are telling me. But yeah, it applies to literally everything. The way I make my videos, the way I go about my illustrations, the way I plan my... Sorry guys, my phone, my camera literally just died while I was in the middle of my thoughts. So I just wanted to jump on here and finish that thought while I charge my camera. Like I was saying, it applies to the way I plan my day. It really applies to the way I do everything. Okay, so that is just regarding the general skills that I learned as an engineer. In terms of the actual subject matter, for example, my knowledge on electronics, electromagnetics, all of those things, I can use them any day. Like, that knowledge is not going anywhere. So just having that knowledge on those subject matters mean that I can always go back to engineering. I can always go back to the field. Another big point is that most people don't use 95% of what they learned in school. And that's a fact. Ask any engineer at any level. Go to Google, Microsoft, Boeing, any of the big tech companies. Ask any engineer on any level if they are using the knowledge from all the modules that they learned in their 4 years of education. So for those who went for masters, 6-7 years of education, ask them if they are using all that knowledge. They're using maybe maximum like 30% of that knowledge. So for most jobs, especially engineering jobs, and this was my experience with the 2 different jobs that I had, both before my masters and after my masters, you are trained again, like you are reintroduced to what you need for the job, the skills that you need for the job, the material that you need for the job. You are trained the way the company wants you to do the job. So I'll never count it as a loss or as, wasted or any of that. And when I talk like this, it's not that I don't have doubts, but my general thing is I'm just trying to keep an open mind, trying to convince myself that nothing is wasted. The roads are all still open and I can still go down a different path if I am called to go down that path. I don't know what the big picture is. I don't know why I had to, absorb all this knowledge, learn all these things and end up not using it. Maybe I'll end up using it because, like I said, I still love engineering. I enjoy being an engineer. So for the right role, I can still apply the same skills. Only God knows what the big picture is. That's all I'm going to say on this topic. Wow, that was a mouthful. Okay, let me charge my camera and get back to filming. Do you need an assistant? Yes. I think what I need more is somebody to help with household chores so that it frees up more time for me to do actual work. I think I need that more than an assistant. Your 5th question is actually more like a request, so I'm not going to answer it now, but I'll just read it out. Can you please create a safe space community so that young women can share their experiences and journeys so others can be inspired from that? Thoughts. You guys, please put your ideas in the comments below of what you think this can look like. Something like this, what can it look like? All right, Mirella asks, what about electrical engineering? Will you seek employment later or are you comfortable doing your hustle, videos, illustrations and the like? I'm going to bundle it with Morgan's question because it's almost the same question. So Morgan asks, do you plan on ever going back to work as an engineer again or will you stay in content creation? So when I quit my engineering job, I really wasn't saying goodbye to the field entirely. Like I explained before, it was just that specific role. It just so happened that I quit when I didn't have any other engineering job lined up. Normally when people want to move on from their specific roles, they find a different job, then quit, then start the next job. I also really wanted to give my content creation a chance and really see what I can do with it, where it can go. So given everything I've explained, I would definitely be happy to jump back into engineering for the right role, and it should also make sense financially. I really miss engineering, but I'm not going to lie, the job market is actually really tough right now. Like that is actually the honest reality. The job market is tough right now. Morgan also asks, what camera do you use for vlogging? I bounce between my iPhone 11 and my Sony ZV-1. There are some videos where I only use one camera and there are some videos where I use both. So it really depends on the situation. It depends on what I have in my hand once the happening things are happening. But if you guys want any information about my vlogs or places that I visit or anything, just check the description box. I actually take my time to write those things out in the description of every video. Rose Fanny has a bunch of questions. Thank you, girl. I know you recently subscribed to the channel and you've been catching up on past content and everything, so thank you very much. I'm actually really impressed that you have so many questions so far. So Rose asks, ce n'est pas perturbant de passer des années à l'école pour finalement se lancer dans quelque chose de radicalement différent? So yes, sometimes it bothers me, but like I said, no knowledge gained is wasted, and I believe that this path is leading me somewhere. Even if I get back into engineering, I wouldn't say my time spent creating content was wasted. No. I try to be stoic about it. I try to be really strong about it. I don't regret any of my past decisions. I don't regret studying engineering. I don't regret quitting my job. I don't regret getting into content creation. I don't regret getting into art. I believe that I was called to do all those things. The only thing that really puts some doubt in my heart is just not knowing where exactly I'm going. And that is where faith now comes in, trust in God comes in, and I just have to do my part, work hard, and see where it goes. Fanny's next question is, d'où est venue cette passion pour les illustrations? Pour les illustrations. Comment t'es-tu formée? Okay, the passion I've always drawn. Right from the first day that I picked up a pencil, I started drawing. Like 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, I started drawing. Art is something that nobody had to tell me, draw this, draw that. I just picked up my pencil and started drawing stick figures, little things here and there, and I just never stopped. But when I got to university, I slowed down a bit. I started drawing a bit less often, and then once I started working in my corporate job, I stopped drawing completely. I went almost 4 years without picking up a pencil, but I found that I was really missing drawing. I miss having that creative outlet. I was like, you know what, why am I depriving myself of this thing? Let me get back into drawing. And I started drawing again, and I don't think I'll ever stop. It's really something that relaxes me, something that I enjoy doing. When I finish and I look at my finished work, it's just such a satisfying feeling. I don't know. From there, I think you can try to figure out where the passion comes from. And then you ask, how did I learn? Practice, my dear. Practice. And I don't shy away from tutorials. Like, even things that I feel like I already know how to do or how to draw. There are so many artists that I follow here on YouTube, on Instagram. I follow lots and lots of illustrators and artists. So they are constantly posting tips, constantly putting up tutorials. Even if it's something that I feel like I already know how to do, I still watch the tutorial. Okay, now you're making me go into like the technical details of illustration, but there are certain things that you need to actually learn. For example, the anatomy of your body. Sometimes you can draw a human being and something just looks off on that drawing, but you don't know what it is that looks off. It might be that the hands are too long. It might be that the legs are too short. So you have to learn human anatomy to be able to produce good drawings or good illustrations, especially if you are doing human illustrations, which is what I do. I took a character design course on Udemy. I followed it rigorously. I think it took me about 2 weeks. That's the only art course I've ever taken, like official course. I'm going to take more courses. In fact, there are so many that I want to take. It's just I can't find the time to take them. But yeah, that's it. Jefferson says, hello, you are a very smart and organized person. Thank you. There is no doubt in my mind that you could be a very successful person in the corporate world, yet you quit your job. Are you planning to open your own business as an entrepreneur? If yes, when? What type? If no, how do you make money? Very pertinent question. Jefferson, you are asking the pertinent questions. Are you making enough with your YouTube channel? Do you plan to post more videos, like maybe once or twice a week? Are you planning to relocate abroad? Thanks and congrats. My advice as a married person, enjoy your life with Vincent before having kids. Once you start having kids, your life will no longer belong to you. Yeah, my dad told me the same thing. He said, you know, once you start having kids, it's no longer about you, it's about your kids. So don't forget that. That's literally the one thing that my dad told me when I asked him for like advice before I got married. I was like, okay, so what do you have to tell me before I take this step? He just said, you know, it's just something to know. Am I planning on opening my own business? I mean, what is it that I've been doing here for the past 1 year? So is this not a business that I'm running? My illustrations, is that not a business? Are you saying it's not a business? How do you make money? Are you making enough with your YouTube channel? Frankly, no. I I cannot live off the money I make from YouTube. I think one day I'm actually going to go into details about how YouTube pays and how much they pay for a certain number of views. And anyway, for me, because YouTube does not necessarily pay two different accounts the same amount of money for the same number of views, it varies. So I think at some point I'm going to get into it, but it's not a lot of money. In fact, I earn more from my illustrations than I do from my YouTube channel, which is why sometimes I am not able to produce videos as often as twice a week, or some weeks I'm not even able to make a video because that week I have illustrations that I need to prioritize, because that is where the bread actually comes from. That's what actually pays me. On months when I have just maybe one illustration or sometimes no illustration at all, I'm able to produce videos every week, sometimes twice a week, middle of the week and Sunday. In fact, if I bring up like my roster for illustration clients and like the rate at which I've been posting videos, you will see that in months when I have many illustrations to produce, my YouTube suffers, because when I have illustrations, I prioritize the illustrations. And the reason why I prioritize illustrations, one, because I'm dealing with clients one-on-one who have hard deadlines. Two, because that is what actually pays, and that is what funds my YouTube channel. When you see me going to buy microphone to improve my audio, I buy camera, I buy this, I buy that, tripod, I'm constantly buying gadgets, buying ring lights, all of those things. Not all of that money is coming from YouTube. Sometimes I have to take money from my illustrations and other things to improve the quality that I give here on YouTube. Yeah, so that's kind of how it is for now. Hopefully YouTube can really pick up, because I've seen it pick up for other people. I've seen it really pay for other creators, and I'm just hoping that as I continue to try to improve my quality, continue to try to be authentic, produce authentic, real content, I hope it picks up and is able to pay for itself, and at least even let me have something extra. Even the internet connection that you use for uploads and everything, those things, uploading these videos is really not cheap. Producing these videos is not cheap. YouTube cannot cover all of that. So long story short, to answer your question, no, we don't make enough from YouTube, especially here in this country. Are you planning to relocate abroad? guy, the way Cameroon is going. Anyway, I've never planned to live abroad though. I've never really had the urge or the desire to live abroad. But as I visit different African countries, I start to think, okay, I can see myself living in other African countries. But abroad, as in off the continent, I don't know. I've never really been interested, honestly. There's nothing about living off the continent that really interests me, except if it makes more sense financially, which I mean in most cases it really does. It makes more sense to work abroad in the West. So this is literally the next morning, and I'm attempting to finish filming this video right now as I eat. So Chelsea says, congratulations girl, can you make a video on how YouTube works? I mean, I think there are so many videos out there on how YouTube works, but I guess you want more insight into specifically how it works in Cameroon. So what I can do is that I can incorporate that information into one of my vlogs, but I don't know if a dedicated video talking about how YouTube works will do well on this channel. Gatti asks, can traveling as a content creator be a full-time career? Yes, there are so many people who do that as a full-time career, especially creators in West Africa. Look at people like Tayo Aina, Stephen Doku, I hope I've not butchered his name, Miss Trudy Wodemaya. All of those are travel content creators. However, I personally find traveling very expensive, so to produce travel content I definitely need a sponsor, just like I had for my Kenya series. Alright guys, let us move into the relationship and marriage section. Oh my gosh, I need a bite of food for this one. Muno asks, what is your favorite hobby and your favorite activity with your husband? Anyway, my personal hobby, I love drawing. You guys already know that. As for my favorite activity with my husband, we like eating together. I wouldn't say we like watching movies together because we have very different tastes in movies, but yeah, we like eating together.
I don't know.
Ashil says, hey Mutombo, first of all, congratulations. My question is, what are the 2 things you guys forgot to celebrate your last year? So I'm assuming that you're asking what my husband and I forgot to celebrate our last year before getting married. For one thing, we don't celebrate Valentine's Day. We've been together for almost 8 years now, and throughout our entire relationship, we never actually celebrated Valentine's Day. It's just something we decided that we are not interested in doing. So, but one thing that we usually celebrate that we did not celebrate our last year of dating is our anniversary. You know, the anniversary of when we started dating. We didn't celebrate that because we just had too much going on with wedding planning. And honestly, the day came and passed and we both forgot. I think I remembered the next day and I was like, oh my gosh, we didn't celebrate our anniversary. We really did not have the bandwidth to celebrate anything. So, okay, I'm back again in a different setting. I don't know if you could tell, but throughout this video, I've been moving around quite a lot. But I've just had to use whatever small pockets of time I could find here and there to really, you know, answer these questions, film this video, and yeah, here we are. So since we are in the relationship section of this video, I thought it would be fitting for us to have chocolate cake, something sweet, nice, and here I have some tea. All right, Dainty asks, my question is, I notice you have quite a good social capital, friends. How do you manage and nurture your relationships? Good question, good question. Honestly, I cannot take credit for the quality of friends that I have because it is actually a testament to their character than to anything that I did. The only thing that I can say is that I try to be as genuine and as honest as possible with my friends. I try to be candid without being too judgmental because, you know, different people, different choices, and it's okay. And to speak more on, you know, just being honest and straightforward with people, I think it's to the point where my friends generally know where I stand on certain topics. They know what I can and cannot do. So that builds a trust that is not reliant on third parties or hearsay. Another thing that is common throughout my group of friends is that we are generally there for each other, and that makes it easier for me personally because even though I have independent relationships with each of my friends, because of the fact that we are kind of all friends with each other, when it's time to show up for somebody, the idea or the initiative doesn't necessarily always have to come from me. Somebody else can bring it up like, oh, this is what is happening with this person. Here's how I think we can support this person. And then from there, we join forces. That really makes it easier to be there for people, especially in these adulthood times. If it was up to one person to think of everything and constantly take initiative, we would not cope. Honestly, we will not cope. So to summarize, I try to be genuine, I try to be honest. I'm very opinionated, but I try not to be judgmental, and I think I'm fairly open. In fact, sometimes I feel like I'm more open towards people, like people know more about me and what's going on with me than I know about them. Yeah, I just try to make people comfortable around me. I think that's it. Well, that's all I can say on friendships. Honestly, it's not perfect. I've lost some friends. I haven't gained many, but I love them all and I want the best for them. Okay, there are so many questions here asking me how I met Vincent. That's my husband. Rose Fanny wants to know, Kenye wants to know, Boyage wants to know. Because of how long this particular video is already at this point, I'm going to link up a video where I answered this particular question, and I think I really went into detail. I'll even put the timestamp, don't worry. I want to answer the second part of Kenye's question, which is, how did you know your husband was the one when you were dating? For one thing, by the time Vincent and I started dating, I'd been single for quite a while, I think about 2 years, and I really spent that time figuring out what it is that I don't want. In fact, I stopped focusing on what I wanted in a guy, and I started really taking my time to look at the things that I do not want, that I don't want to tolerate anymore. And I ran away from those things with the speed of light. So this was the frame of mind that I had when Vincent and I started dating. One thing that really made me know that he was the one is that he was never afraid to show his love, and he was very consistent in the way he treated me throughout the relationship. That made me feel secure with him as my partner. Before then, I had experienced the type of relationship where 1 week the guy is treating you like you're his beginning and his end. The next week he's treating you like shit. Then the week after that he's treating you like a queen again. That inconsistency, that back and forth, the mind games is really exhausting. I found it really exhausting. I don't want to deal with that anymore. So with Vincent, once I noticed that he was really consistent with his character, honestly, it really made me, like I said, secure. In fact, I think that's it. That's the key word. Once a woman feels secure with you, not just physical security but emotional security, once a woman feels emotionally secure with you, that in my opinion is like the first step to her heart. There are actually so many things that made me know that he was the one, but I honestly, I really don't want to, spill out my entire relationship here. But the thing of consistency and feeling secure was definitely one of the most important things for me. And another thing is that I definitely prayed about it. Like, I was constantly asking God. I said, God, I don't want to be getting into relationships and breaking up, getting into relationships, I don't want that. I don't want that anymore. Please just give me the spirit of discernment. Like, even if it means that I should be single for as long as however, than to get into another relationship and then start begging you to make that relationship work. Meanwhile, that is not where you sent me. So God, you give me the spirit of discernment so that once I meet the person that I'm supposed to be with, I may recognize it. And I feel like with how comfortable I felt with Vincent, I felt like that was just that recognition that God was giving me. Chelsea asks, how many kids are you planning to have? Honestly, throughout my teenage years and in my early 20s, I always said that I did not want kids. That was my mantra. My mom told me that I'll change my mind. I said, okay, if I change my mind, then maybe I'll want 2 kids maximum. I would have said, okay, maybe 1. But I'm saying 2 kids because I've heard lots of only children say that being an only child is very lonely and that they wish they had siblings. So I just felt like, okay, if I'm going to have one, I might as well give that one a sibling. But at the end of the day, let's just let God decide on that one, okay? Chelsea also asks, why did you have 2 maids of honor? I wanted to, I needed to. My maids of honor, they really took charge of different aspects of the wedding, and especially when it came to the wedding day itself, I saw their strengths play out in different scenarios. My friend Ariane, she's a master planner. She's a pro at getting things ready for the day and putting together a vision. My sister Muno is a beast when it comes to execution in the moments, under pressure when things are happening. She's really good at handling those things. Another thing is I didn't have a wedding planner, so everything was up to my husband and I. So I knew that I needed all the help that I could get. That's just it. Mercy asks, how is it sharing space as newlyweds, especially as you've always owned your own space? I don't like it. I don't like sharing space. I've been married for how many months now and I still don't like it. I'm still figuring out how I would like to live, in this shared space. When I had my old apartment, I used to live with my sister, but we had separate rooms. She had her bedroom, I had my bedroom. So the only space that we shared was the common, the common areas like the kitchen, the living room. Mercy also asks, this is a nosy question. Have you guys started receiving guests considering you just got married? Yeah. Vincent is an extrovert. He likes being around people, so yeah. But thank God he's very considerate of me, so the rate at which he receives guests now is significantly lower than before we got married. Mercy asks, how do you guys settle disagreements as a newly married couple? Prince Melvin asks a similar question, which is, whose choices do you take, yours or that of your husband? So I've noticed a pattern here. I've noticed that for the small things, like the day-to-day things, the decisions lie on me. Like, we kind of go with what I want or what I suggest. But when it comes to the big picture things, somehow, I don't know how this man does it, but we always end up going with what he wants or what he envisions. So yeah, I would say big picture things, maybe him, and small picture things, me. As for how we settle disagreements, honestly, we talk. We just talk. We cannot move forward unless we talk. So I'm just happy about the fact that, from time to time, that burden of having to address things and talk about things, falls on either one of us. It's not always one person that is like, let's talk. Mercy asks, how is life after the wedding party? You guys have been watching the vlogs now. I've just been, I feel like for months now I've just been saying I'm still trying to settle in. But honestly, guys, it is a big change. I don't know why it has affected me so much. Like the whole thing of getting married, moving in, feeling like you've lost a bit of your independence and all of that. It's really something that I have faced a lot of difficulty with, a lot of difficulty adjusting to. I don't know if everybody finds it this difficult, but I personally have been honest with you guys on this channel, in the vlogs, the new wife diaries. I've really been finding it difficult to settle into somebody else's world. Basically, the only thing about my new life that was my choice was my husband. Everything else is just, I just feel like I'm just, swimming in another world and just trying to get some air. I don't know how to explain it. It's really just something that I need to figure out, for myself. So I guess this kind of answers Prince Melvin's first question, which is, what are the challenges you face as a wife and as a couple now? Yeah, as for the challenges that he faces as a husband, I guess we'll have to ask him, but that's just kind of a summary of my challenges as a wife. AF asks, do you have any advice about wedding planning and the wedding itself, even though you haven't been married long? You know what, I have a video planned with, the points, basically my regrets and my advice about wedding planning and all of that. I already have the points listed out, so I'm going to make that video for you. Agathe Michelle says, hi Mutombo, you're the best. Please, what advice/tips can you share to girls to keep a long distance relationship? 1, make sure you talk to that person every day. 2, try to bridge the distance, because I personally don't believe that long distance relationships can survive for too long. A few years and you guys should try to see how you can get, back into the same space. That's my realistic advice. Sandra says, how does it feel planning meals for 2 now? Well, in the beginning it was really stressful, but I think at some point I started complaining to Vincent about how, this thing was stressing me out. I was constantly cooking, I was constantly in the kitchen, I didn't have time to do my own things and stuff. And he was like, honestly, I don't know who even asked you to be cooking every day, because sometimes you can actually order food, so please just go at your pace. So I took those words and I've held them to heart, and I'm definitely going at my pace. It's not as stressful as it was in the beginning. And sometimes Vincent even brings food back home for both of us, so I'm really grateful for that. Morgan asks, should we await honeymoon videos from the Maldives? No dear, no. Once again, I have to move to my phone because I'm out of space on my camera where I was filming. But yeah, let's quickly wrap this up. Edionce says, hi girl, love your vlogs and your personality. My question is, how do you feel as a new wifey, and did you plan to be married at this time in your life? I'm going to combine that with I am MSD's question, which is, do you feel any difference now that you are married? I don't know if you get my question. I get you. I get what you mean. How I feel as a new wifey, like I said, it's just a lot of adjustment for me. But I've heard from so many people that the first year of marriage is usually the hardest. Yeah, I do feel different now that I'm married, but only in the sense that it feels like a very permanent decision. Okay, obviously it is a very permanent decision. I don't know how to explain it. It just feels like, oh my gosh, so this is it. The aunties who may be watching this might feel like I'm, I don't know, leading young girls astray or whatever, but I've really, almost every decision that you take has to be, seconded by another person, and vice versa, obviously, because it's not just one-sided. This is me being very honest and really, putting my heart out there. It terrifies me. It has always terrified me. It still does. Like, even after being married for months to a wonderful, wonderful man, I'm still like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So like I said before, I'm guessing it's just something that I need to figure out by myself, because even when I express these concerns to Vincent, he's like, okay, so what can we do about it? Like, how can we make you feel better? I'm like, there's really nothing you can do per se. It's just a situation, so it's just something that I need to figure out, like maybe talk it out with a professional. I don't know, but okay, we'll close this up with Morgan's last questions, which are: 1, have you had any culture/tradition shocks so far in marriage, since you might be of 2 different villages/tribes? Yes, we are of 2 different villages, but I've not really had any culture shocks or traditional shocks, because for one thing, especially this first year of marriage, we've made it a point to live alone. Like, it's just the 2 of us in this house, and also we've known each other for long, so there are no real shocks or surprises that have jumped out in the course of living together. Even the few habits that we both have that annoy each other are things that we both knew about each other before getting married. Nothing major and nothing that really has to do with tradition. Last question. Morgan asks, how does it feel to wake up beside your own person every single day? So yeah, I'm going to rephrase your question to, how does it feel to have your own person every single day? That's the part that feels awesome. It feels awesome because at the end of the day, you just know that you're part of a team. The 2 of you make one unit, and you both act in the interests of the unit as a whole. That feels good, feels secure. Before God and man, in front of the world, the 2 of you have stood and declared your commitment to each other, and both of you actively are part of a team. There was one night we were sleeping, and then we heard a door open at like 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m. And we turned to each other. Vincent asked me, did you hear that? And I said, yes, I heard that. He said, okay, give me a stick. Like, I looked around, opened all the wardrobes, I couldn't find any stick. So I gave him the most precious stick-like object that I own. Let me show you. Guys, I gave him this, my precious tripod. You know what? I can sacrifice this to, handle business. He took it, opened the door gently. He was like, stay behind me. I was behind him. We went through the house gradually, quietly, opening every door quietly. And guys, I don't know what it is about me, but I enjoyed every second of that experience. I was just smiling, like literally there could be an intruder in our house, and I was just smiling because I just enjoyed the fact that my husband and I were together trying to handle this thing like a team. I had already grabbed some rope and I was holding, like, okay, my husband will hit the person with the stick, and then I'll run in and tie the person with the rope, and together we are going to teach this intruder a lesson. Anyway, long story short, there was actually nobody in the house. It was just a door that wasn't properly closed and it swung open. Anyway, guys, I think it's time to end this video. I'm so hot, I'm sweating, the light is going down, and the video has been long enough. I think this is going to be the longest video on this channel ever, but I hope you enjoyed every minute of it. I honestly have been very, very open here. I have poured out my heart. I have not tried to paint my life to be what it is not. I'm not trying to paint myself as goals for anybody. I'm just a real person sharing my real experiences in the most honest and genuine way possible. Not everything is roses. Okay, no, it is roses, because there's a part of the rose that is a flower with beauty and fragrance and everything nice, and there's also the stem which has thorns and can prick you. So I guess life is a bed of roses.